Welcome to JTV News. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ino Soman, and here are the headlines. The loss of correspondent banks threatens financial services industry.
It means that this whole region will not be able to do business as easy as it has been in the past.
Possible transshipment port for Anegada, Dr. Hubert O'Neill says the project would diversify BVI's economy. Minister Walwyn responds to 12th grade concerns, saying it's what's best for the students.
Take on the additional year. I know it's a controversial thing. It can get me booted out of office, but it's not about that. It's about making sure that we prepare the students the best way we can.
Premier says there is a constitutional review coming. BVI Electricity Corporation's power expansion project expected to be completed by year end.
The Phase 5 power development project being undertaken by the British Virgin Islands Electricity Corporation is well underway, and there is definitely more light at the end of the tunnel.
Young male contestants vie for the first Mr. Junior BVI pageant, and in our Hot Trends feature exclusive interviews at the BVI's first Gen Y Factor Talent Showcase.
The winner, the first ever Gen Y Factor winner, Mr. Darnell, how are you feeling?
I feel ecstatic.
Ecstatic?
Yes.
In news from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago's police investigating the release of more than 500 nude pictures of women, including some underage children. And the UK's vote to leave the European Union has left tourism insiders wondering just how much of an impact the global development will have on travel to the Caribbean. In our Medical Minute segment, tips for a better sleep. If you're struggling to get a good night's rest, it might be because of what's called your sleep hygiene. A Mayo Clinic sleep specialist will explain. I'll be right back with the details of those stories and more right after this.
Every athlete dreams of competing at the Olympics. People dream of watching the Olympics.
You cannot watch it. I mean, even if you're not into sports, you have to watch it.
There's no other event that eclipses the Olympics.
I would call it the ultimate world experience.
You can't beat the Olympics. The Olympics really is number one.
And now the news. Premier Dr. Orlando Smith said after decades of fighting challenges in the financial services industry, another significant and imminent threat has developed: the loss of correspondent banking relationships. He said the entire Caribbean region is facing this challenge. Correspondent banks facilitate the flow of funds from one country to a foreign country. It can facilitate wire transfers, conduct business transactions, accept deposits, and gather documents on behalf of another financial institution. Now, Premier Smith told the House of Assembly that the financial services industry faced constant challenges over the past 30 years, but the loss of correspondent banks has the potential to devastate economies.
The real issue right now is the matter of correspondent banks. Right? So, and this is something, is a challenge not just for the BVI, but a challenge for the entire Caribbean and Latin American region. The fact that the correspondent banks are exiting to some extent the region, it means that this whole region will not be able to do business as easy as it has been in the past. And just today, I saw correspondences from CARICOM to Washington and other places. I'm trying to make some headway in this way. And this is a matter that is being discussed at the highest levels in the Caribbean region, and a matter that representations have been made to all the banks headquarters, the correspondence banks, to the agencies in America, to our colleagues in the United Kingdom. And will just have to continue to persevere until we can find a solution that will assist. And more and more, I'm seeing correspondence and articles and papers come out, which is supporting the idea that it is important that all the correspondent banks do not move out to the Caribbean region because it will devastate the economies down here. So we are working assiduously in that direction.
In March this year, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, said the potential loss of correspondent banking relationships could destabilize financial systems and economic activity in the Caribbean. And the Caribbean Banking Association stated it will no longer be business as usual for the financial services industry due to the unprecedented regulatory, legislative, and economic changes taking place. It said the loss of correspondent banks has the potential to destabilize economies, promote financial exclusion, and increase poverty levels. Correspondent banks in the United States and the UK have been applying restrictions to regional markets or cutting services altogether, stating that these measures are meant to reduce risk of penalties. The banks have been facing high penalties for failing to minimize the risk that it may be used to facilitate financial crime. A transshipment hub could soon be on Anegada if 9th District Representative Dr. Hubert O'Neill has his way. The first-time lawmaker said the port would transform Anegada into what he described as a wholesale center for goods out of China and other places in the Far East. Dr. O'Neill said the project could become a major revenue earner at a time when the financial services industry is being challenged.
I envision Anegada as playing a strategic role in developing a new industry here for us in the Virgin Islands. The idea I'm talking about is the development of a transshipment port. It is obvious that we can no longer depend, as we are, on financial services. We have to improve our tourism product, but we have to find other avenues where we can improve our economy as well. And I see Anegada as having that potential. It is a flat island, it's 13 square miles of just flat land. And the other thing about it too, it is strategically that the BVI generally, all the islands here are strategically located right at the top of the Caribbean chain. We're right in the center of the Caribbean.
Dr. O'Neill did not disclose how the project would be funded, but added that although the idea of having a transshipment port on Anegada is not new, he believes there are still several benefits of having such a facility.
This is not a new idea. It is not my idea per se, but it is an idea that was formulated many years ago. In fact, one of the first persons I heard talking about a transshipment point for Anegada was Eli Reimer. And what he had in mind and what I'm thinking of for the people of Anegada and for Anegada generally is to develop a transshipment point where we can access or gain access to goods out of the Far East, particularly China and the countries of the Far East, and to bring products here in the Western world. So Anegada would then become like a wholesale center where persons wanting to acquire products out of the Far East can come to Anegada to acquire their products. So think of the positive benefits from such an industry.
BVI also heard of this idea from local activist and national hero Noah Lloyd, who stated that it was his dream to see a transshipment port developed on Anegada. In a televised interview, Minister for Education and Culture Myron Walwyn assured the public that he is aware that the decision to introduce the K-12 education system into public schools that added a 12th grade poses a threat to to his position in office. Yet, he maintained that the decision isn't about him. It's about what's best for the students. Nia Douglas has more.
Take on the additional year. I know it's a controversial thing. It can get me booted out of office, but it's not about that. It's about making sure that we prepare the students the best way we can to make a living for themselves and to secure the quality of life that we have grown accustomed to.
Minister Walvin explained the benefits of the key stage testing and other regionally and internationally based assessments that the ministry is implementing in the public school system.
One, we have also, as I said, key stage testing now is also part of the secondary system. And this year as well, for instance, in grade 6, one of the key stage assessments that we'll be doing from next year is the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, which is a regional assessment, again, for us to be able to see how we perform regionally, compared, of course, to other countries in the Caribbean. And we'll be doing a similar thing in grade 10, the Caribbean Certificate of Secondary Level Competence. Again, is a regional assessment that we'll be able to see how we match up to other countries in the Caribbean. And it provides very good statistics. It helps us to see where we are, which is very important information.
The Education Minister addressed concerns about the temporary 12th grade accommodations at HLSCC campus, stating that the quality of the curriculum and teaching can benefit the students in any environment.
Yes, you must have an environment that is conducive to learning. But I like to recall years ago when I was a little boy, and I'm sure persons who are listening now can recall, that you used to learn under the mango tree sometimes when the teacher take you outside. And I don't think that we should get our thoughts so confined that if we don't have a comfortable building, or if there's not a building at the school, that we should abandon our plans. The quality of what we're doing lie in the educational opportunities that we're going to be providing and the quality of instructions. And that hasn't changed because we don't have the buildings at HLSCC. We do have the buildings, they're just not on the campus. And we will work towards getting that done, because the work is being done now to make sure that it's done and done well in accordance with our master plan that we developed for the Elmo Stout High School and also for Brigada Flax. But I don't think that because we hit a little snag in the road that we should just abandon our plans. And it's not about me. It's about making sure that the students have the best chance for success, and that is what we're trying to do.
The first 12th grade classes will begin this coming 2016 to 2017 school year. The grade 12 fact sheet is available at the Ministry of Education as well as the government website. For JTV News, I'm Nia Douglas.
The Rotang branch of Scotiabank has made a controversial decision to prohibit customers from wearing hats, sunglasses, and hoods while they carry out transactions inside the establishment. The bank recently posted a notice stating that it opted to ban those items in order to improve security for both staff and customers. Manager of the Scotiabank's Roadtown branch, Ryan Best, indicated that the financial institution has had difficulties clearly identifying customers wearing hats, sunglasses, and hoods. He further stated that the new protocol is not a response to any particular security threat. And still to come on JTV News, Communications and Work Minister Mark Vanterpool says the BVI Electricity Corporation's expansion project will be completed by year end.
This project will add 3 engines generating a total of 26.7 megawatts of power to the central BVI grid.
And meet the male contestants vying for the first Mr. Junior BVI pageant. Plus, exclusive interviews from the Gen Y Factor competition.
I wanted to sing a song where everybody can say, well, they felt what I sang. And I'm happy to say that I actually did that tonight.
She broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew hallelujah.
But first, we have other news making headlines in the Caribbean. Welcome to the JTV News Caribbean News Report. A strong majority of voters in Bermuda have opposed same-sex marriage in a non-binding referendum in the British Overseas Territory. Results showed large majorities voting against same-sex marriage and civil unions in separate questions. But the referendum was invalidated because turnout was below 50%, of which 69% opposed same-sex marriage and 63% rejected civil unions. Bermuda's Premier Michael Dunkley said his government was evaluating the results of the June 23rd vote. Bermuda's government scheduled a referendum after it considered legalizing same-sex marriage in May 2015. 9 passengers who flew into Jamaica on Monday, June 20th, were refused entry, while another 8 were quarantined because of yellow fever concerns. According to Caribbean 360, the 17 persons were traveling from Trinidad and Tobago and Panama and could not produce evidence that they were vaccinated against the virus. Jamaica's Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said Jamaica has to take the threat of yellow fever seriously. And earlier this month, the government stated that persons traveling to Jamaica from countries that poses a threat of yellow fever are required to produce proof of vaccination. Jamaica wants to prevent the virus from entering that country where the mosquito vector and human hosts are present. Some 40 countries are on the WHO advisory list for yellow fever. The UK vote to leave the European Union has left tourism insiders wondering just how much of an impact the global development will have on travel to the Caribbean. Hotel and tourism officials say that on the heels of the historic vote and the ensuing plunging of the pound sterling, fears of a reduction in visitor numbers are justifiable. More in this report from HTS News Force.
Tourism is the leading economic sector in St. Lucia, and the United Kingdom has consistently ranked as a key source market for stayover arrivals, second only to the United States. St. Lucia is just one of many Caribbean countries closely monitoring the decision by Britain to leave the European Union, known as Brexit. There are fears that Brexit may plunge the UK economy into a recession, and with the current volatility of the pound, that vacationing will be put on the back burner for UK nationals. Chief Executive Officer of the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, Noorani Aziz, says the situation is cause for concern.
On the heels of the information regarding the outcome of the referendum, given the impact on the stock markets and the behavior at that level, there were some concerns about the trickle-on effect of that type of behavior. Investor confidence is key to the strength of an economy, and when you have investors and investments being second-guessed and second-guessing themselves, that doesn't bode well for stock markets. So initially, our response was one of concern.
Aziz says it is too early to tell just how much of an impact Brexit will have on UK visitor arrival figures. He says for now, the association will continue its wait-and-see approach.
Even the experts are falling short of making sound prescriptions. What we are trying to analyze are some of the opportunities for us. It's important for us to measure the challenges, but it's important also for us to look at how we can tap opportunities, and to leverage benefits as small island developing states coming out of this Brexit situation.
The SLHTA CEO believes that any plan of action to provide a buffer for fragile Caribbean economies must be charted at the regional level.
One has to remember that in the scheme of things, St. Lucia is just a tiny dot in the ocean when you take into consideration our market size or our consumption capacity. The fact of the matter remains is if we are to really leverage a discussion with any of these types of countries of this size in terms of trade agreements, in terms of policy arrangement, in terms of aid, it has to be done on a regional level if it is to create the best impact for all of us.
The ray of hope in this situation lies in the pound sterling recovering its value, making any impact short-lived. Regional scholars have been speaking out on Brexit, calling for in-depth analysis of the situation. This week, the University of the West Indies will host a symposium to reflect on the various sectors the vote is expected to impact and what action can be taken by regional policymakers to ease the repercussions. The findings will be presented to CARICOM heads of government before their deliberations in the Bahamas on July 4th. UWI officials say tourism will feature prominently in the intellectual exercise as the region tries to protect its fragile economic recovery.
American hip-hop star 50 Cent paid a fine of 3,000 EC dollars after being arrested for using indecent language on stage at the St. Kitts Music Festival. 50 Cent, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was arrested on June 25th after an hour-long performance at the Warner Park Stadium that included his profanity-laced hit, PIMP. According to Caribbean 360, the 40-year-old rapper, along with a member of his entourage, Bajar Walter, were each slapped with fines when they pleaded guilty in a rare Sunday sitting of the court to allow 50 Cent time to fly back to the United States for the BET Awards. 50 Cent's management stated that he was contracted to host the show and was asked to perform last minute. However, when FM in St. Kitts reported that Jonelle Powell of the St. Kitts Music Festival Committee confirmed that not only was there a conduct clause in his contract, 50 Cent and his management team were warned about the issue before he took the stage by the Commissioner of Police. And Trinidad and Tobago police say they have detained several people for questioning in relation to the upload of more than 500 nude pictures of women, including some underaged children. The pictures were sent to social media websites and cellular phone messaging WhatsApp. The photos had been shared online by a hacker. Among the list of young women were entertainers, students, and young professionals. Trinidad and Tobago media reports say majority of the victims are students from the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Cave Hill in Barbados. And coming up next on JTV News. Premier says there is a constitutional review coming. BVI Electricity Corporation's power expansion project expected to be completed by year end. Young male contestants vie for the first Mr. Junior BVI pageant. And in our Hot Trends feature exclusive interviews at the BVI's first Gen Y Factor Talent Showcase.
To see it on your smartphone or to see it on your tablet.
I think that would be ideal, simply because my lifestyle is very on the go.
I'm on the move. I might be at work. I may have some time that I can actually view it, but I'm not close to a television.
You just can't be everywhere you need to be all the time, especially if you work.
So when we're out sailing on the water, somewhere we'll be connected and watching the event live. So it'll be great.
Welcome back to JTV News. During the month of July, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force will spearhead a road safety public education campaign along with a month-long amnesty period on certain traffic offenses. According to the Commissioner of Police, Michael Matthew, the campaign's aim is to re-educate the public on existing road traffic offenses. Throughout the month of July, police will not issue tickets for traffic offenses, but will instead warn persons about the traffic violations, except if they are serious cases. But be prepared, because on August 1st, the RVIPF will reinstitute penalties for all road traffic violations, with added enforcement officers carrying out road checks and patrolling hotspots to ensure that those who continue to violate the traffic laws are penalized. The Commissioner of Police said this is all part of efforts to make the roadways safer for motorists and pedestrians. Premier Dr. Yolanda Smith said he agrees that it is time for another constitutional review to take place in the British Virgin Islands. He made the comments after Leader of the Opposition Julian Fraser noted that the last constitutional review was done in 2007 and that a review is expected every 10 years. Premier Smith told the House of Assembly that he has started the necessary discussions with government lawmakers as well as the opposition leader, and noted that when the last constitutional review was done, the BVI did not achieve all the changes it wanted.
And I've had this discussion with my colleagues on this side and also with the leader of the opposition, and we're making provisions to get that underway. We all recognize it. Remember that there was a constitutional review in 2007. We did achieve quite a few things we wanted to achieve. Some things we did not achieve, which I think we recognize at this point that perhaps we could have if it approached things differently. But we will have that review, and I would think that, as you say, have been set to the motion.
Premier Smith did not state what changes the BVI will be seeking in the next constitutional review, but the opposition leader suggested, among other things, that the territory should seek to take control of the police force and the civil service. Now, both groups are currently controlled by the United Kingdom through the governor. There is definitely more light at the end of the tunnel, Minister for Communications and Works Mark Vanterpool said as he provided an update on the BVI Electricity Corporation's power development. In a statement made in the House of Assembly on June 23rd, Minister Vanterpool explained that the project is expected to be completed by end of this year and includes the installation of 3 new generators, which will supply 26.7 megawatts of power to the grid.
This project will add 3 engines generating a total of 26.7 megawatts of power to the central BVI grid. It will also connect the Pocket Pond Power Station to the facility in Longbush using an alternate route via the Paul P. Watley Drive. Madam Speaker, this BVIEC Phase 5 development program remains on track to be completed by the end of 2016. For Package A, which is the generation contract, the 3 engines have already been manufactured. Officials from the BVIEC visited the manufacturer's facility to witness the factory acceptance testing for the first 2 engines in November 2015 and in April 2016 for the last engine. Madam Speaker, the engines are now ready for shipment and expected to arrive in the BVI by mid-August of this year.
The Communications and Works Minister says works are also ongoing for the building expansion, adding that the 4 engine beds are now complete and the steel frame structure is being erected.
The floor space for the control room has also been completed, and most of the equipment is now on site or en route to BVI. Madam Speaker, new cables have been installed between Pocket Pond and the Longbush facility for the Package B transmission contract, and works to extend the Longbush substation will soon begin to accommodate the new switchgear to facilitate cable termination.
The power expansion project is being carried out by the BVI Electricity Corporation with the main contractor K-Line International and local subcontractor Sandwise Limited. For the first time, male contestants have been included in a junior BVI pageant. This year, a Mr. Junior BVI has been added to the Miss Junior BVI pageant that is organized by the East End Long Look Festival Committee. This week on JTV's Spotlight, committee member Lena Thomas explained the addition of the new Mr. Junior BVI.
This year, we thought to introduce the male into the pageant scene. We find that we have a lot of young, talented young men in the BVI, and rather than showcasing the females, the ladies all the time, we thought to introduce the males. You know, they Mr. Fifth Form as well. That's another local pageant where there are male contestants, and that is always well appreciated by the BVI audience. So we thought to bring the guys in this year and see how we could take the show to another level. We're really excited that we have 2 very enthusiastic and very talented young men. I believe that the BVI is in for a treat this year with the introduction of the Mr. into the pageant.
Only 2 contestants will compete in the first Mr. Junior BVI pageant, Akeem Stanley and Shamar Trim. They sat down with Spotlight's host Eduenka to speak about their participation in the pageant.
You never see male ambassadors when it comes to pageantry, and I would like to change that stigma of having only females take part in pageantry and be able to represent the BVI in such a way. So being a male ambassador through pageantry is a great experience for me.
What would your reign look like as Mr. Junior BVI?
Well, supporting my personal platform, which is cyberbullying, I would put my focus on cyberbullying throughout our community and bring awareness to this tragedy that is happening.
Is that something that you're familiar with?
Yes.
5 female contestants will vie for the Miss Junior BVI title: Jalissa Smith, Kanya Matthew, Daisy Turnbull, Joyanne Thomas, and Dejamoya Smith. The pageant's theme is Colorful Gems on the Scene for Festival 2016. Segments include swimwear, black and white wear, talent, evening wear, and question and answer. The Mr. Junior BVI and Miss Junior BVI pageant is set to take place on Sunday, July 10th at the Eileen Parsons Auditorium. And 8 finalists took the stage on Saturday, June 25th for one last shot at winning the BVI's first Gen Y Factor title. Sophie B of JTV's Hot Trends has the exclusives from the talent competition.
Now, everybody know that there was this big competition taking place in the BVI, Gen Y Factor, and the finals were held on June 25th, and let me tell you, it was a fantastic show. I felt like I was somewhere in the U.S. at the American Idols or X Factor. It was well put together. Kareem Nelson Hull, he was the host, and of course we had 8 finalists vying for the title of the first ever Gen Y Factor. Now, let me tell you, the performances were fantastic. I think everybody was a winner, in my opinion, but of course there can only be one winner. But those contestants came out and they gave it their all. You know, they had different coaches working with them. They had lots of nights practicing, and it all played out that night at the finals, and they definitely blew the audience away. Of course, we had 8 finalists, as I said, but we're going to show you the 4 finalists that made it to the top 4. We're going to show you their performances, as well a little behind the scenes with them, and we had the opportunity to talk to them before they hit the stage and after they perform.
Final 4, can you take a step backwards now, so we can wind you down to the final 2.
We're now backstage with Mr. Calvin James. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. I saw you when I came in. You in the mirror doing your little thing. So if you win tonight, Mr. James, what would that mean to you if you take the title tonight as the first ever Gen Y Factor winner?
Well, if I win it, wow. So I would be speechless, first of all, because I would, like, to me, it's not a competition to me, you know. To me, it's just a show to, you know, like, show everybody who I am.
Now here with Darnell, a little heartbreaker. Hey, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, actually.
You good? You not nervous? You're hot?
No, not at all. Nope. I'm very well prepared for this. I plan on doing my best tonight. Despite the outcome, I would know that I did my best, whether or not I win or not.
We're now here with Kiwana. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thanks.
You good? As you can see, we're backstage, moments before the show. What are you feeling right now?
You know, I have to go out there and give it my all and, you know, be confident and just have fun. So, yeah, that's what I plan to do for this competition tonight.
Here with Mr. Madur. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. The artist that who's the songs from, I've been studying how he moves, the stage presence, and just follow every move, and also put originality of it as well. Right. So I've been studying, practicing, and just keep practicing. Every note I hit, every dance move, everything.
Close your eyes, let that rhythm get into you. And now it's time for our top 2 contenders. The first position goes to Kiwana Play. Only one of you young men will move forward to the top 2, and that space belongs to Darnell. If you feel like standing on your feet, you're allowed to do that. One of you get ready to sing your song one more time. The winner of Gen Y Factor 2016 is
Darnell
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, the first ever Gen Y Factor winner, Mr. Darnell. How are you feeling?
I feel ecstatic.
Ecstatic.
Yes.
You know, when we spoke first backstage, I felt your confidence. I'm like, you know what? This dude gonna take this tonight. And you came out and you nailed it. Tell us about your choice of song, Hallelujah.
The song and the impact that it had and the effectiveness, how the song captivated everybody. Right. You know, I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to sing a song where everybody can say, well, they felt what I sang. And I'm happy to say that I actually did that tonight.
She broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew
You can see more of the Gen Y Factor Talent Showcase on JTV's Hot Trends, seen right here, on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and Fridays at 9:30 p.m. And next in Medical Minute, if you are looking to get a good night's sleep, a Mayo Clinic sleep specialist will give some simple tips on how to improve what's called your sleep hygiene.
Perhaps a schedule that doesn't fluctuate greatly but always is allowing at least 7 hours of sleep opportunity, recognizing there may be a little bit of play between weekdays and weekends.
Dr. Geronimo Jones is next with that report.
Eureka, located in the British Virgin Islands. Come, discover Eureka Medical Clinic, which provides the most complete medical services in the Virgin Islands. Our state-of-the-art clinic offers the highest quality in specialty care, cardiology, gastroenterology, orthopedics, and spinal surgery. We also offer specialty care in obstetrics and gynecology, as well as dermatology. Eureka Medical Clinic offers diagnostic procedures such as x-rays, mammograms, CAT scans, and all forms of ultrasound exams. Now, for the first time in the BVI, Eureka offers MRI scanning too. With colonoscopy and gastroscopy, we check the intestines and stomach for polyps, colon cancer, and ulcers too. Located at Geneva Place in the heart of Road Town, Eureka Medical Clinic with Medicare Pharmacy and Labs offers you a comprehensive medical facility all under one roof. So for high-quality medical services and convenience, there's no need to look any further. Eureka! You found it.
If you're struggling to get at least 7 hours of shut-eye every night, it might be because of what's called your sleep hygiene. That's the term doctors use for a series of habits that influence sleep. In this Mayo Clinic Minute, Jeff Olson talks to Dr. Eric Olson, a Mayo Clinic sleep specialist, about some simple ways you can improve your sleep hygiene.
They say timing is everything, and it's definitely true with sleep.
That scheduling is really important.
Mayo Clinic sleep specialist Dr. Eric Olson suggests making bedtime a fairly firm time.
Perhaps a schedule that doesn't fluctuate greatly but always is allowing at least 7 hours of sleep opportunity, recognizing there may be a little bit of play between weekdays and weekends.
Stick to a schedule and address your stress by getting out in front of it. If you usually go to bed around 10 o'clock, try scheduling in 30 minutes of worry time, maybe at 6:30, so there's less on your mind later when your head hits the pillow. Also, pass on that nightcap.
It may help you get to sleep, but as the night evolves, it may not promote good sleep.
And once you're in bed, don't let technology be your nightlight.
Light is used by our brain as an alerting signal, so it doesn't make sense to get that stimulus and then try to fall asleep.
Take away the technology, add a comfortable mattress and room temperature, and you should be able to go from awake to Z's. For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Jeff Olson.
Before we go, a brief look at the main headlines. The loss of correspondent banks threatens financial services industry. Possible transshipment port for Anegada, Dr. Hubert O'Neill says the project would diversify BVI's economy. Minister Walwyn responds to 12th grade concerns, saying it's what's best for the students. Premier says there is a constitutional review coming. BVI Electricity Corporation's power expansion project expected to be completed by year end. Young male contestants vie for the first Mr. Junior BVI pageant, and in our Hot Trends feature exclusive interviews at the BVI's first Gen Y Factor Talent Showcase. In news from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago's police investigating the release of more than 500 nude pictures of women, including some underage children. And the UK's vote to leave the European Union has left tourism insiders wondering just how much of an impact the global development will have on travel to the Caribbean. Just a reminder that you can find all the news stories featured in this newscast as well as previous newscasts on jtvlive.net. Additional information and news updates can be found on JTV's Facebook page, facebook.com/JTV55. All the news features, press conferences, and JTV's television programs can also be found on JTV News YouTube channel. You can subscribe for daily uploads. We welcome your questions and comments. You can email us at jtvnews@hotmail.com. For the entire news team, I'm Ino Soman. Thanks for watching.